He hails from Brooklyn, New York, and he has been a personal jeweler for A-list celebrities such as Jay-Z, Rihanna, and Kevin Hart, just to name a few. And he's also the co-founder of Saucey Farms and Extracts. Today, I am joined by Alex Todd. Alex, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Since you were a kid, you've had a love for watches, and your mom was also into jewelry. How would you say she influenced your interest?
I think just growing up, my mom being in the jewelry business, I was actually never, I was never thinking that I would ever be in jewelry or get into watches at all. I always loved watches from a young age, ever since I could remember, whether it was like digital Casio or as I was getting older, obviously like the Diesel watches and the Gucci watches and the Movados and stuff like that. So I was always intrigued by watches and just always seeing, my father having a watch on and other people just always having a watch. So I was always interested in nice watches and sneakers actually as a kid, and just grew fond of it. And ever since I remember making my first big paycheck, the first thing I wanted to do was go get myself a watch. But in terms of my mom's influence, she was just in the jewelry business, and it just so happened that the paths led where at a certain point in my life I wasn't really doing much. I actually went to go work to try to help collect the family debt in the jewelry business with working with somebody else, and it just so happened that I fell in love with the industry, and well, more on the watches side. Just fell in love with watches and just trading and buying and selling and collecting.
So you kind of just answered a little bit, but prior to like making that transition to the jewelry industry, specifically watches, you have experience in the private jet industry as well as real estate. So did that help you when you made that pivot?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was always dealing with like high end customers and high end products. So products that are all very expensive. On the real estate side, I was selling real estate in Manhattan. So I mean, at that time, and still to this day, it's very, very expensive. Probably some of the most expensive real estate in the world. And in terms of private jet, you're catering to basically the 1% of the world that can afford such a luxury, because it is very, very expensive. So it's just kind of learning how to deal with that type of customer and deal with that type of high price ticket item definitely helped me when I moved into jewelry. Seeing what my mom, and she was selling diamonds, ever since I could remember, since I was really young. So it's kind of just a little bit of everything helped me get into the industry.
And so why would one, for those who may not know, why should people invest in watches or even explore that area of jewelry?
So I mean, look, it's kind of hard for me to say like watches are an investment.
Mhm.
They're more of a way for you to maybe store some of your wealth, and maybe eventually, if you make the right purchases and you make the right decisions and a little bit of luck, then it can turn into an investment. In the last several years, watches have tremendously turned into more of an investment vehicle than they were in the past. Before, they were just something nice, like a car. You drive your car out of the showroom and most likely you lose $10,000, $20,000 right away. It's something similar with watches as well. It's like if you went into a authorized dealer or went into Rolex or Patek and you bought a watch from them, as soon as you left the store, it became a used watch, and it was usually down 20% of what you paid for it. So it's hard to say watches as an investment, but in the last several years, it's turned that way just because of everything that's been happening with inflation and just cryptocurrencies, and there's just been a lot of reasons why the factories were shut down for 2 years with COVID. So it obviously made the supply a lot tighter. That also helped increase the prices. But when I first started selling watches, 12 years ago, every single watch I was able to get a major discount on. Like any watch that you wanted, I'd be able to give you 20-25% off on that watch. Where now today, most watches, the ones that are favorable and the ones that are like quote unquote hot, they're all, going for 50 to 100% over retail just to be able to get them. So I mean, times have changed. I don't know what the future holds, so I won't say, oh yeah, watches are definitely a great investment. I wouldn't say that, but I would say buy what you like, to enjoy, to look at, to wear, and hopefully over a long period of time, history has shown that they do end up being up, especially vintage watches. I mean, there's some watches that costed a couple of $100 that today are a couple million.
Wow. That's crazy. And that's like the equivalent of like artwork too. Like I think some people don't even understand like the importance of looking at that and putting your money into something like that as well. Because it's like very interesting. And you think about like who navigates and occupies those spaces. And it's no secret, like you've gotten the opportunity to be a personal jeweler for like Jay-Z, Rihanna, Kevin Hart, just to name a few people. But what was it like when you had the opportunity to work with Jay-Z and pick out pieces and say, hey man, like this is, what do you think about this?
Growing up in Brooklyn, and always looking up to Hove in many different ways, just seeing someone that comes from nothing, that comes from Brooklyn, same place where I grew up, also like very similar growing up with, not much to have, and to be able to make it to the point to where he is right now, being a billionaire. I mean, he's just been somebody that I've always looked up to, and to be able to work with him now and call him actually a friend is amazing.
In an interview, you said, honesty and integrity will always get you to the level that you want to be. So, how would you say that's helped you grow those pivotal relationships with people that have had and have major impact on our culture?
Yeah, I mean, like you just said, honesty, integrity, being forthcoming, being transparent, showing that you really have the best interest in the clients at hand. That's the most important thing, having their best interest and helping them, guiding them, helping them make educated decisions as well, knowing the industry, knowing the ins and outs, knowing, how knowing what their taste is a little bit as well. And I like to say that I have a little bit of an influence, but most of the time, they know what they want, these customers, and I'm just helping them, get to where they want to be.
Hmm.
I've been very blessed and very lucky, and I just, like I said, it's just very important about transparency, and also, just having a good track record. Like every single watch that I was able to get for my clients in the last several years have all, increased in price, tremendously, and
Wow.
was able to get some pieces that obviously nobody else or able to get, which is also a help.
Hmm. So, like in terms of that influence realm and space, like how do you like stay on top of your game, like making sure that you are on top of, I guess, trends or the latest fashion? How do you stay on top of that?
Just like everyone else, you just got to keep yourself plugged in with what's happening in the culture, what's happening with these brands. Try to stay, close to some of the people inside the companies, so you have an idea of what's going on, how many pieces are being made of certain products, so you have a gist of an idea of how rare certain items are. And just like, again, it all comes down to like preference. Like I look at something, I'm like, oh my god, that thing, it's gorgeous. I think it'll be perfect for XYZ. um and most of the time, I mean, they agree with me. It's just, I guess I have a good eye for stuff, for nice stuff. And that's pretty much it. I try to just keep myself in the loop.
That's so funny. That's a good touch to, I think, for anybody to have, is like when you have an eye for things. And that reminds me of, I was listening to something you talked about how you and Floyd Mayweather basically collabed to create the bust down watch. So what what went into that process of you guys creating that?
I mean, Floyd always liked diamonds, and he would always come around, and we didn't create the bust down, but in terms of like Pateks, I
Yeah.
think we were the first ones to bust down a Patek Philippe. We weren't really busting down Pateks. It was more of like a sophisticated, more of a gentleman's, older grown man's watch, and I think I had one laying around for a while that right now people would die for this watch without diamonds, just plain Jane. But it was laying around, and we know Floyd loved diamonds, so we iced it out, We busted it down and we ended up selling it to him. And he was like the first person to have a bust down Patek. We started an awful trend.
That's crazy. I was gonna say, because doesn't that like decrease the value in a way of the watch?
I mean, nowadays, yeah, I mean, definitely. Nowadays, you'll pay more for a plain watch than
Yeah.
you would for an aftermarket diamond watch. Back in the days, it wasn't quite like that because again, you were paying less for the watches, and then you're adding the diamonds. But now, definitely, it's worth a lot less than because of the rise in the plain watches on Pateks and some of the watches that they were busting down. It's definitely be a horrible idea to do it right now.
I have to ask too. So you're a serial entrepreneur. That's no secret at all. But what piece of advice would you give to someone who's interested in exploring multiple business ventures?
I mean, I think you got to really love what you do first and foremost before you really, get involved in like certain things. Like I won't get involved in something unless I truly love it. Just because it might sound like a great idea, unless I really love what it is, because sometimes you really have to roll up your hands and be involved, and you don't really want to be involved in stuff that you don't love. So I would just say, try to really appreciate and love what it is that you're getting into. Like with the crypto and things like that, I never understood it that much. And you get involved in things that you really don't understand. Most of the time, you're going to end up A, not enjoying yourself, and B, most of the time, probably losing money because you don't know really
What you're doing?
much about it.
What was the best piece of advice that you've received, just growing up, and then also just being a businessman that you are?
Just stay honest, be honest, have integrity, be honest, always tell the truth, which is, no matter how bad or how good it may be. But I think people really appreciate honesty and transparency. I think that's key. So any business you're involved, I think just be transparent. Lay all your cards out on the table, whether it's good or bad. I think that people will appreciate that.
How do you find yourself balancing family, friends, business, and of course yourself?
Just wake up every morning. You say thank you to the man above that you're here, that you made it another day, and just go about your business. You have responsibilities. You have family responsibilities, which you have to take care of. You have a wife, that needs attention. Also, you got to make sure that you take care of that, and you have your business because without making money, none of that stuff can really survive. Everyone has expenses, homes to live in, cars they want to drive, nice clothes they want to wear, vacations they want to go on. So without the business and without actually making the money, then you can't really do any of those things. So that has to come somewhat as a priority also, just to be able to make the whole machine work. Obviously, if the working aspect's not flowing correctly and not you're not taking care of your business, it's gonna come back to your home life as well because everything at home is going to be all screwed up. So
Yeah.
you have to focus on your business and just know that business and money is not the most important thing in life. Obviously, it's beautiful to have and it's great to have money and it gives you a lot of luxuries. But the most important thing is taking care of your health, making sure your family is good, having the people around you that love you and you love them. That's really the gifts in life. Health is the real wealth. Having like you seen, like guys like Jobs that had all the money in the world, Steve Jobs, and on his deathbed he'd give it all away just to be able to
Yeah.
spend another day with somebody that he loves. So I mean that's really what's important in life, and just keeping that in perspective and not overworking yourself where you're going to cause yourself to run into health situations because of your stress and because of everything else. And of course, stress is unavoidable. Everyone has their things that are going on in their head and stress levels and so on and so forth. But you just try to balance everything and know what really is important in life. And it's not financial stuff.
That's wild because you think about the culture that we live in today, and it seems like everybody is just like so obsessed with chasing the bag. Like, I got to get to the bag, got to get to the bag. But I think what you said it so beautifully, is just like, it's really your family, it's really taking care of yourself. And I think the best other example you gave is Steve Jobs.
100%, and everything he said is 100% true because at the end of the day, when you don't have health, you really don't give a shit about money. Excuse my French, you know? Like, you know, I got friends that are sick right now and literally
Mm.
I don't care about money at all. And eventually, you know, we're all gonna get old, God willing, get old. And, you know, at the end of the day, you don't want to look back and be like, damn, all I was doing is chasing a bunch of stuff that are not coming with you. You know, you never see a Brinks trunk following a hearse. So
Mm.
all those material things, all the things that you think are important are really so not important. It's like he said, you know, it doesn't matter if you're driving a $300 car or a $300,000 car, you're going to get to the same place
Mm.
pretty much at the same time. You know, you're going to get to the destination. I mean, and who really cares about this stuff? You know, yeah, and don't get me wrong, I have beautiful cars and I have beautiful stuff, you know, but I enjoy this stuff, but at the end of the day, I know it's not important.
When you think about legacy, in 100 years from now, how would you, Alex Todd, like to be remembered?
Just as a
Mm.
good person, someone that's humble, um, did everything that he could to help others. That's it. As long as you know you have a good reputation, and no one can ever say anything bad about you. I think that's very important.
Well, cool. Thank you so much, Alex, for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Anytime.